The next thing that we'll look at is endorphins. So for any of you who exercise, I'm sure you've all heard about endorphins. Endorphin is a natural pain relief. We do get that post-exercise high. We get a bit of a second wind. It's also, endorphins help us feel happy. It's a mood and pain regulator. Very, very similar to dopamine. It can be depleted by emotional distress, prolonged anxiety, and also being in prolonged pain. Anyone who's injured themselves, or indeed if you've given birth, you do release a lot of your own endorphins, but it will deplete over time. So if we're in pain for long periods of time, and you see people who have chronic complaints such as rheumatoid arthritis, you will find that their endorphins are very, very depleted. How is it enhanced? It's enhanced by laughing. And this might sound like a weird thing, but I say to people, if you need to really shift your mood, there's some simple things that you can do in the moment. And one of those is to take yourself off somewhere quietly, probably to an office or maybe even to your car, and take your phone with you and just watch some little 2-minute clips. And this is not about appraising this person's comedic ability. It's about finding someone that makes you laugh. My personal favourite is Michael McIntyre. He just tickles my funny bone. And I watch his videos on YouTube over and over again. They're only about 2 or 3 minutes. And this is about giving yourself over to laughing, knowing that you're doing this in order to restore or to regulate your mood. You're giving yourself some kicks of endorphin. Interestingly, you cannot crinkle up your crow's feet without smiling. And I know some of you are trying it right now, aren't you? You might want to rethink the Botox. So again, people might wonder why you walk around the office like this. However, as I said, if you find yourself in a bad mood, if you find yourself in a mood that's not going to be in the service of, you need to go and walk into a meeting, whatever it might be, they're 2 really simple things you can just do in the moment. No one needs to know what you're doing. And it will instantly shift your mood. And you'll feel it. And the more you feel it, the more you do that. Like whenever I tell that story, I start to laugh, and I can actually feel my mood shifting. It's pretty amazing, really, when you think of it. We are sitting there manipulating, in a good way, our brain chemistry. I think that's pretty exciting with that. It's enhanced and increased by things like ruminating on positive events. I always talk about the old slide night. Some of you here are probably too young to remember. There may be a couple of people who might have had parents like mine that we'd go down to Pambula for the holiday, and we'd come back and the unsuspecting neighbours would be hauled round, the slides would come out, the projector would go up. We'd generally be eating exciting stuff like cubes of cheese with little green and red onions. If you're really lucky, the fondue would get pulled out. And we'd sit there looking at the slides of Pambula and the holiday down at the beach. But what actually happens is ruminating on positive... Mum and Dad were sitting there in a dopamine and serotonin glow. I don't know how the neighbours felt. While I was actually doing my study with Pos Psych, it was kind of like, I put this off till last, and when I was doing all of my assignments and assessments and so on, one of the activities that they got us to do was, it's called Reflected Best Self, and again, this is out of Yale University. If you just Google Reflected Best Self, the exercise itself will pop up. And what we had to do, and it was very, very challenging, was we had to contact about 30 or 40 people we knew, family, friends, work colleagues, etc. And there's a bit of a pro forma, but it was to ask them to share back with us 3 stories of when we were at our best. And it was one of the most extraordinary things I've ever done. The reason for the number was not everybody will get round to it, or some people not comfortable with it. I think something like 15 people got back to me, and every time I opened one up I burst into tears. I was just staggered, and I was not only staggered at what people had written, but I was completely staggered at how well they knew me. It was really quite a profound experience. One of my favourite pieces of research, and this certainly helps with the serotonin, but it was research conducted by 2 people called Gable and Gonzaga. And the article is called "Where Will You Be For Me When Things Go Right?" And what they looked at was people giving feedback, and feedback is often a hot topic in organisations. How do we give it? How do we make sure we don't ambush people? How do we receive it, etc. And so their research paper was fascinating, because what they learned was that there's only one type of feedback and only one type of recognition, that actually causes relationships to build, whether this is at work or whether it's outside of work. The only type of recognition and acknowledgement when people have good news, when they achieve, is what's called active constructive. And that is something like, shut the front door, sit down and tell me all about it. Wow, how are we going to, when's the party? So it's completely acknowledging that someone has actually chosen to share their good news with you. And you think about it, when I actually learnt this and I read the research, it really was quite a bombshell, and it certainly made me think about the relationships within my family and friends, etc., and at work. And I thought about the ones that were most powerful, and I thought, yeah, that is so true. It's the people who know I can ring and share the good news story with, and they will listen, they're excited, and they want to know more about your good news. So thanks so much for your time today. If you've got questions, I think we've got time to take a few questions. I will be sending some articles, there will be some articles will be sent around after the session. But hopefully just going through a bit of a high-level view of positive psychology and brain science, hopefully there's some takeaways there in terms of some simple things that we can start to do about our own mental health and mental well-being, as well as the mental well-being of people within the organisation. So thank you very much, folks, and feel free to keep your stress balls.